Hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. The great Judy Mowatt, one-third and youngest member of the greatest ever backup singing group, the I-Threes, is without a doubt among the most influential and iconic reggae artists of all time. Breathtakingly beautiful and elegant, she's also endowed with a one-in-a-million soulful voice that's at par with those of the finest classic Motown singers that she idolized while growing up and would model her own singing style after. Though she would make her foray into music a bit later than her older friends and colleagues Rita Marley and Marcia Griffiths, she came into the limelight at the end of the rocksteady era and also established herself as one of the leading lights of Jamaican music. To crown her exploits with the I-Threes, she will smash many glass ceilings and notch several milestones as a solo artist that would include putting out one of the great classic roots reggae albums in the sublime Black Woman. Her 6-decade journey in music has been one amazing multifaceted ride that's seen her evolve from R&B influenced love song singer to passionate Rastafarian activist and then into a gospel singer and minister. Not to mention the legal deadlock which saw her lose the rights to her own name and almost caused her to quit music altogether and become a nurse. So without further ado, let's take a look at legendary Judy Mowatt and her amazing journey and life. She was born December 23, 1952 as Judith Veronica Mowatt in the small village of Gordontown in the lovely St. Andrew Parish in Jamaica. She was raised by her church-going grandmother and fell in love with music as a young child as a member of the choir. Her huge love for entertainment saw her join a dance troupe at the age of 13. Her group was very talented and were in fact so good that they went on tour of Jamaica and several Caribbean islands. This dance group also had 2 other members who could sing and dance very well. So after it disbanded, Judy would link up with the pair named Beryl Lawson and Merrill Clemenson, and they would form a vocal trio called the Gaylettes in 1967 in the mold of Motown groups like the Marvelettes, the Supremes, and Gladys Knights and the Pips. As the lead singer of this trio, they caught the attention of Jamaica's first recording studio and label owner, Ken Curry. Between 1967 and 1970, they would score several hits with covers of American R&B tracks like Silent River and Dusty Springfield's Son of a Preacher Man. But in 1970, the group came to an end when Lawson and Clemenson both emigrated to the US, leaving Judy to continue as a solo act. She would sign a new contract with the label, and the legal effects would almost end her career before it could even get started. Under her new contract, she unwittingly signed away the rights to her own name, Judy Mowatt. That was the era of the vocal harmony groups, and her solo act failed to take off, causing Federal Records to put her on the shelf. She was between a rock and a hard place, unable to make any headway with her label or even record for other producers. She was broke, frustrated, and on the verge of quitting music altogether. She began to make inquiries about enrolling in a nursing school when she got a phone call that saved her career. Her talents had been noticed by Jamaica's first female music producer, Sonia Pottinger. Pottinger wanted her to come over and sing over a rhythm, and the song in question was I Shall Sing, that was performed originally by legendary South African singer Miriam Makeba. Judy jumped at the idea, but told Pottinger her legal problems. Pottinger now came up with the idea for Judy to use the name Julianne for her record, and when it was released, her own version of I Shall Sing became a smash hit, and she would replicate that success on quite a number of singles for Pottinger's Tip Top Records, and was quickly emerging as a big name in Jamaican music, especially with the track I'm Alone. And she would in those times discover the Rastafarian faith and became a member of the group that was called 12 Tribes of Israel, where she met and became friendly with other artists like Bob Marley and Freddie McGregor, 2 men that would become pivotal figures in her life story in a very short time. She was then a big admirer of fellow female singers Rita Marley and Marcia Griffiths and had a strong desire to meet them one day. Her prayers were answered one day in 1972 when none other than the great Coxsone Dodd called her on the phone and invited her to come for a recording session at Studio One and do some harmony singing with 2 other female vocalists. And when she got there, she was delighted to discover that she would be singing with Rita and Marcia. And when they got in the studio, their chemistry was simply amazing and was so good that they finished their recording in record time. In fact, so good that Marcia would invite Judy and Rita to come over that evening to sing with her at a concert at a nightclub on Oxford Street somewhere in Kingston. They honored her invitation, and the performance was also a smash with the audience that was of such quality that people began to demand that they form a group. The trio began to collaborate frequently in studio sessions, totally oblivious of what Jah was orchestrating. Around that time, the original Wailers trio of Bob, Bunny and Peter had fallen apart, and the Tuff Gong was left to rebuild his team from scratch. Bob had been a big admirer of their sound, so when Lee Scratch Perry suggested that he incorporate the trio as his backup vocal team, he bought the idea instantly. In a semi-audition, Bob asked them to sing on a recording of the song Jah Live, and when they did, they blew him away, and from that moment, the trio called the I3s was born. They made their debut on the Natty Dread album in 1974 and totally mashed it up, especially on songs like Lively Up Yourself and Talking Blues. Their luscious, sweet and powerful harmonies brought a new dimension to the Bob Marley and Wailers sound and would quickly help to propel that musical unit to incredible success. Despite the incredibly busy schedule of the Bob Marley machine, Judy Mowatt found the time to record and put out her debut album, Mellow Mood, which came out in 1975 and was in fact the first album to be released under the Tuff Gong label. Judy was an ardent Rastafarian with a high level of spiritual sensitivity. In fact, a few days before Bob Marley was shot in 1976, she had a premonition from a dream and tried to warn the Tuff Gong about it. In 1979, she would begin work on what became her second album, Black Woman. She was then in a relationship with singer and producer Freddie McGregor, who also became co-producer of that project. The result was a 10-track masterpiece that was a critical and commercial smash that's been hailed as not only the greatest album by a female reggae artist, but among the greatest of all time across all fields. And one of the songs, Joseph, was in honor of Bob Marley, who she celebrated as something of a reincarnation of Joseph in the Bible. Her relationship with McGregor will produce a child in Yashima Beth McGregor, who was born in 1980 before the pair was split up. After Bob's sad passing in 1981, she would release her third album, Only a Woman, in 1982, and would proceed on a very prolific solo career while continuing to collaborate with the I3s on tours and albums for the rest of the 1980s, right into the 1990s. And in 1986, she became the first female singer to get a nomination for a Grammy Award when her album Working Wonders was nominated for Best Reggae Album, but lost to Jimmy Cliff's Cliffhanger. But in the mid-1990s, after more than 20 years as a fervent Rastafarian, she converted to Christianity as part of a wave of reggae artists that became Christians, including Papa San, Lieutenant Stitchie, and Chevelle Franklin, and she opened her account as a reggae gospel singer with the album Love in 1998, and followed that up with Something Old and Something New in 2002. She was awarded the Jamaican Order of Distinction Medal in 1999. And in 2019, she would reunite with Rita Marley and Marshall Griffiths when the I3s received an iconic award from the Jamaican Music Industry Association in what was a very emotional event. The great Judy Mowatt is undoubtedly a living legend and one of the all-time greats, an inspirational figure, gifted artist, and an integral major part of the illustrious and rich history of reggae and Jamaican music altogether. So there you have it. Thank you for watching the video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, Jah bless.